So a lot of the sellers that I've been talking to lately are considering, should we actually sell our house or should we just rent it out and become a landlord? Now that idea is more promising now than it's been in a long time when you look at the financial situation. So many homeowners that might have refinanced or purchased in the early 2020s when interest rates were in the 2s and the 3s and the 4s, you probably have a really low interest rate. Your debt service, that payment amount is probably pretty low. And lenders, let's say you had to finance a new home, lenders will take a certain percentage, usually it's about 75% of the rent that you're getting from that house to qualify towards paying down that existing debt and being able to qualify for your new loan. So you're probably not in a bad position where having two mortgages is going to be a stumbling block. But there are a lot of things that you need to be aware of before you make that decision, especially in a state like California, where the laws definitely are in the favor of the renters versus the landlords or the homeowners. So in this video, I'm going to go over the pros and cons of becoming a landlord in today's market. Now, this video is accompanying an article that's in the latest issue of Building Chino Hills magazine. Now, even though it says Building Chino Hills, there's content in there for anybody in Southern California or anybody really, but it's specifically for residents of Chino Hills. We send it out to about 10,000 homeowners a month. If you want to get on that mailing list, check out the pinned comment below. You can drop us an email, we'll get your information, and we'll send you a free copy. Let's talk about the pros. Now, a big one in California, Southern California, is going to be appreciation. So over the past 30 years in California, the historical average for home appreciation has been 6.4% per year. That's huge. Where else in the country are you going to find that type of appreciation? And I have seen homeowners that have sold their houses in California. They decide, wherever they move to, let's say Florida, and they didn't like humidity, and they decided to move back. Well, they're kind of priced out. Once they sell, they have a hard time getting back that money that they need to buy back into Southern California. Anything can happen, but if the historical average over the last 30 years is 6.5 or 6.4%, there's a pretty good chance that something close to that is going to continue. So that is definitely a pro of keeping your home. The next pro on my list is passive income. So especially if you hire a property management company to manage the property, they're collecting the rents, they're taking care of maintenance issues, they're dealing with the tenant. It's pretty much the definition of passive income. Now, here in Chino Hills, rents on a single family home, let's say a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, you're looking at anywhere between the low 3,000s to up to 4,000. And depending on the size of the home, the amenities, let's say you have a pool or you're in a gated community or something like that, the rent only goes up from there. Now, in some of those communities that have a high HOA, that's something that a landlord has to figure out. But when we look at just passive income, the house is going to generate income for you month after month, as long as you want to keep renting it out. Are you thinking of relocating to Chino Hills, Chino, Eastvale, or the surrounding area? Well, if you have, I've got something just for you. My team and I have actually taken the time to create the ultimate relocation guide, which is meant to save you hours of research, and I've created a link right down below. From the top employers, the best shopping, the best restaurants, a boatload of information that you need to know before relocating to the area. The best part is this guide is absolutely free. Just click on the link in the description or the top pinned comment and I'll send it to you right away. So now let's talk about the cons. As I mentioned before, the laws in California pertaining to rentals definitely favors the tenants. In fact, last July, there were a whole bunch of new rules that went into place having to do with collection of application fees, rent increases, the process of eviction. So there's constantly new laws that are coming out or changes to the laws that definitely affect landlords. So if you decide to become a landlord and you decide to do it on your own, be aware you need to stay up to date with all the different laws, the changes, the rule changes that come into place. Because if you do violate them and a tenant calls you out on it, they hire an attorney, you're going to be in a lot of hot water that you definitely want to try to avoid. Another con to think of is damage to the property. So tenants are going to have a general normal wear and tear on any home. There's always going to be things that happen, plumbing leaks that happen, electrical outages, or things like that are just routine. But in some cases, you might have specific damage to the property. Let's say the tenant is planning on not renewing their lease. The deposit in their eyes is worth giving up, so they don't care, they don't clean things, or they don't inform you of a plumbing leak that could have been fixed easily and quickly and is instead turned into a huge issue affecting the structure or maybe creating mold. So there's all different types of things, unknowns, that you're going to have to deal with when becoming a landlord that can start off small but can turn into something much more devastating to the property. So be aware of that. One of the scariest cons of all for homeowners thinking about becoming a landlord is not being able to collect the rent. So things happen. Let's say your tenants had great credit, everything was perfect when they signed up, but they lost their job and they're unable to make rent payments. Now that opens up a whole new can of worms in terms of the eviction process. Like I mentioned, rules are always changing. Right now, evictions can be quick, maybe 3-4 months, or they can get drug out for up to a year or maybe even longer. So I've heard some real horror stories. It's been a while, but that varies. It depends on the specific jurisdiction. Certain counties have different rules. But here in Chino Hills, we're in San Bernardino County, and the rules, they do change, but an eviction can take a long time. You've got to make sure that you're still going to be on the hook. If your tenant decides to stop paying and you have a mortgage on the property, that is still due. Same with the taxes, same with the property insurance. So these are things that you're going to have to pay for. And if you don't have that income coming in, it's going to have a definite negative effect on your cash flow, and you don't want to put yourself in a position where you're losing your home because you decided to rent it out. A little further along the idea of not collecting rent from a tenant that's not paying is also vacancy rates. So market conditions do change. It's been a pretty robust rental market for the last few years. There's been typically a shortage, but there has been more inventory that has come on here locally in Chino Hills, and that has helped bring rents down slightly versus about 18 months or so ago. So the market is always changing. If there's, let's say, something peculiar about your property that renters don't like, it could be on the market vacant for a while. So if that's something that you need help with, if you have a home that's been sitting, you haven't found a tenant, give me a call. There's contact information down below. We do leases, we do lease listings for clients, and usually have great success. So if that's something that's bothering you or you need help with, be sure to look us up. Finally, and I've touched on it prior, the last con on my list is legal issues. You are going to have to get a mini law degree to be a landlord if you want to do it on your own. There are a lot of rules that cover everything you can possibly think of, whether it's having to do with pets, whether it's having to do with deposits, collecting of deposits, what can go towards a cleaning fee, what can't. Now there's a new rule with having to do with photography before the move-in and after the move-out, and collecting that and keeping it. That goes into effect, I think, April. New rules, they're constantly changing. There's always new rules having to do with tenancy law here in California. So you really have to pay attention to it. If you don't, or you don't hire a professional to take care of it, that's something that you're going to have to be definitely aware of. You don't want to violate those rules. Hopefully this has given you some insight as a simple overview of the pros and cons of becoming a landlord, whether to keep your home and rent it out or to sell it and to move on. So if you have more questions, please contact me directly. Information is down below. If you have a property in the area, anywhere in Southern California, I can go ahead and do a complete analysis for you, let you know what the house is worth in today's market and what it could be worth in terms of a rental and what kind of income you could expect to get. So I'd love to help you out with that. If you have any questions, reach out to me. The contact information is down below, and I'll see you next time.